The illusion of wealth. POV. You just checked your bank account and there's over $1 million sitting in it. Most people dream of this exact moment. They imagine taking a screenshot of the balance. They imagine walking into a dealership and driving out in a neon green Lamborghini. They imagine the look on their high school bullies' faces when they see the Instagram post. But you don't do any of that. Instead, you calmly lock your phone. You slide it into the pocket of a $15 plain gray t-shirt. You walk out of your house, blend into the crowd, and you tell absolutely nobody. Society has brainwashed us to believe that the entire point of getting rich is to be seen, to be loud, to be validated by strangers. But true, generational wealth operates on a completely different frequency. True wealth is completely silent. Welcome to the psychological journey of the silent millionaire. Today, we are going to walk through the 7 distinct levels of building immense wealth in absolute secrecy. And wait until you see the extreme, almost paranoid lengths people go to at level 7, just to look like they have nothing at all. Level 1, the secret milestone, $100,000. You've finally managed to scrape together and invest your first $100,000 in index funds. For the first time in your entire life, that crushing weight of financial anxiety is gone. You know that if your car breaks down tomorrow, or if you lose your job, you will be perfectly fine. But almost immediately, a brand new fear takes its place. The fear of lifestyle creep. You start looking around at your friend group with a completely new perspective. You watch your friends finance cars they can't actually afford just to impress people they don't even like. You watch them put luxury vacations on credit cards while drowning in secret debt. They start complaining to you about how unfair the economy is and how broke they are. In the past, you would have agreed with them. But now, you just nod quietly and take a sip of your water. You realize that if they knew you had $100,000 saved, the dynamic would instantly change. They would look at you differently, expect you to pick up the tab. So your first act of stealth wealth is simple. You master the art of playing it down. When people ask how work is going, you just shrug and say, it pays the bills. Level 2, the lifestyle decoy, $500,000. Level 2 introduces a completely new psychological strategy, the lifestyle decoy. You're now worth $500,000. Mathematically, you could easily afford to rent the luxury high-rise apartment downtown. You could walk into a boutique and buy a $10,000 Rolex without it hurting your portfolio. But you deliberately choose the mid-tier aesthetic. Instead of a Mercedes, you buy a reliable, top-trim Toyota in a neutral color. Why? Because you've realized a fundamental truth about human nature. Flashy items aren't a symbol of wealth, they are a beacon for attention. And attention brings questions you don't want to answer. You don't want your neighbors calculating your net worth when you pull into the driveway. You don't want your landlord assuming they can raise your rent. This is where the psychology of wealth completely shifts in your brain. You no longer buy things to prove your status to society. Instead, you use your money to buy back your own privacy. Your friends and family think you're just doing okay, and that's exactly how you want it. Level 3. Faking the 9 to 5, $1.5 million to $2 million. Then you hit level 3 and things start to get genuinely weird. You have reached your FIRE number, financial independence, retire early. Your net worth is hovering around $1.5 to $2 million. The dividends and passive income from your investments now completely cover your living expenses. So you do the unthinkable. You quit your high-stress corporate job. You are technically retired in your 30s. But there is a massive, unspoken problem with early retirement. If you announce to your extended family that you no longer have to work, chaos ensues. Suddenly, your second cousin needs a $50,000 loan for a risky restaurant idea. Your old college roommate wants you to be an angel investor in his app that makes no sense. The requests, the jealousy, and the entitlement will never, ever stop. So you do what every silent millionaire is eventually forced to do. You fake a 9 to 5. You tell your parents you transitioned to freelance consulting. You tell your neighbors you took a remote data entry job with flexible hours. You still wake up early. You still leave the house at 9 a.m. But instead of commuting to a miserable office cubicle, you drive to a quiet coffee shop to read a book. You spend 2 hours at the gym in the middle of a Tuesday. You lie to the world, not out of malice, but to protect your relationships from the poison of envy. Level 4, the asset shield, $5 million. At level 4, your net worth crosses the $5 million mark. The game of money has completely changed. It is no longer about making money, it's entirely about defending it. You realize that in the modern world, being a visible millionaire makes you a walking target. One minor car accident, one misunderstanding, or one frivolous lawsuit could put a target on your back. Lawyers look for people with deep pockets. So you take drastic legal measures. You become a ghost. You pull your personal name off of absolutely everything. Your house, it's no longer in your name. It's owned by a blind trust. Your online businesses and investments, held by an anonymous LLC registered in Wyoming or Delaware. If an old acquaintance, a nosy relative, or a lawyer searches your name on public records, absolutely nothing comes up. On paper, you look like a middle-class employee who owns nothing. In reality, you exist purely as an employee of your own invisible holding company. You have built a digital and legal fortress around your life, and no one even knows the walls are there. Level 5, the social firewall. $10 million plus. Level 5 brings the hardest and most painful psychological challenge of them all, the social firewall. You are now officially in the 8-figure club. You are worth over $10 million, but the wealth isolation you feel is incredibly real. You can no longer relate to 99% of the population's daily struggles. When people complain about the price of gas or begging their boss for a 3% raise, you have to pretend to care, and pretending every single day is exhausting. So, slowly but surely, you begin to curate your inner circle. You distance yourself from people who are obsessed with status or complain about money. You shrink your circle down to a handful of people who either don't care about wealth or have just as much as you do. You actively avoid joining flashy country clubs. You turn down invitations to VIP sections at expensive nightclubs, because that's where insecure people go to be seen. You crave the exact opposite. You prefer hidden, low-key restaurants. You prefer quiet hiking trails. You prefer places where nobody asks what you do for a living. You don't want to be known as the rich friend anymore. You just want to be left alone. Level 6, Phantom Luxury. $20 million to $50 million. Welcome to Level 6, Phantom Luxury. This is the $20 million to $50 million tier. At this level, you indulge in extreme, top-tier luxury, but only in spaces where the general public cannot see it. You fly private to avoid the chaotic airport crowds and the TSA lines. But when the jet lands, you don't have a flashy limousine waiting for you. You order a standard Uber X to take you back to your neighborhood, so your neighbors don't get suspicious of a black car service. Your house looks completely average from the street, maybe a nice, normal, middle-class suburban build with a standard driveway. But the inside is an architectural masterpiece. It has museum-quality lighting, a private indoor pool, and an underground home theater. Your wardrobe consists of plain, unbranded t-shirts, but they are made of Italian silk and cost $400 each. You experience the absolute highest quality the world has to offer, but you disguise it as completely, boringly ordinary. Level 7, True Anonymity, $100 million plus. Which brings us to the final boss of wealth. Level 7, True Anonymity. You have $100 million or more. You own the bank. You own the commercial real estate downtown. You hold immense power, but to the world, you are completely invisible. The ultimate flex isn't pulling up to a red light in a Ferrari and having everyone stare at you. The ultimate flex is walking down the aisle of a local grocery store in a pair of faded sweatpants. It is being completely unnoticed by society. It is standing in line behind someone, knowing you have the cash liquidity to buy the entire shopping center, the inventory, and the parking lot without checking your balance. At this level, you have achieved the absolute peak of human freedom. Not just the freedom to buy whatever you want, but the ultimate freedom, the freedom from other people's opinions. Society conditions you to believe that the goal of getting rich is to finally be perceived as important by everyone else. But the silent millionaire knows the actual truth. The real goal of wealth is to buy enough power so that you never have to be perceived by anyone, ever again.